that's all I have for sew-offs. Well, that's a fun little piece, isn't it? That's obviously some sort of ragtime style tune, and that particular one is called Batty McFadden Slower. Batty McFadden Slower. So, for whatever that's worth. Oh, I actually do have one more sew-off, and I'm going to do it showing a finer stitch, almost kind of a darning stitch with it. But first of all, I was going to highlight the stitches that we just did. So let me reduce that first of all so I don't forget. So the first sew-off you saw me do is this single layer of full grain leather. It's kind of curly, isn't it? Single layer of full grain leather, looking at it from the side, right around probably 3 to 4 ounces, and an absolutely spectacular top stitch, and also a lock stitch as well. Just a beautiful stitch quality, which shouldn't be a surprise on this Singer 221-1, this Singer Featherweight. And then we went into 2 layers of genuine cowhide, and you can see as well on this one the stitch is absolutely spot on, and the lock stitch as well, the stitch formation, the stitch quality is absolutely spectacular. And you'll see again, if I turn it to the side, what we just sewed through is 2 layers of this genuine cowhide. We're talking probably around 12 to 14 ounces. And most people don't think of a featherweight, a 221-1 like this one that belongs to Margaret, as a machine that can sew leather. But I demonstrated on this channel all the time what a 221-1 like this, or a 221, is capable of doing if it's restored properly. And Margaret's came with a number of challenges, as you'll see when we go over to the computer and look at some of the Facebook pictures that I've taken this machine through. Just a whole myriad of challenges with the machine, quite honestly. And then we went to U.S. Army grade canvas. We only did 4 layers of it. Could have probably gone higher than that, but an absolutely spectacular stitch in every respect. The spacing, the formation, and the consistency of that stitch is absolutely spot on. And you can see the same as we go to the back. Other than those awful little tufts that come through on this U.S. Army grade canvas, the stitch quality here on the lock stitch also is really phenomenal. And on the back, I probably would increase that upper tension a little bit to define it just a little bit more. But all in all, the stitch quality is spot on. And again, if you look from the side, that's what we just sewed through with this little featherweight, this 221-1. And it's just absolutely phenomenal. And the only other stitch off that I was going to do on this little featherweight that belongs to Margaret, and eventually is going to be heading back to Georgia, is some light cotton polyester with a little bit of a stiffener on the back, just to do a little bit of dancing around with it, with more of a darning small stitch, probably around 20 stitches per inch or so. And then we're also going to look at a little bit of a comparison between this 221-1 and a Singer 301A, just so you can kind of see the migration that Singer did when they migrated from that featherweight, the Princess of Singers, to that much bigger model of kind of a Singer on steroids with the 301A, or as one person referred to it as, or I referred to it as, and they said I should do it more often, refer to it as, instead of the Princess of Singers, kind of the biker girl of Singers, when you look at the size of that 301A and the strength and everything else that goes with it. So, but let me put on a little bit more ragtime music. And I should mention to you if you want an impromptu contest opportunity, again, when I do an impromptu contest opportunity during a premiere, it is with the understanding that you're going to post the answer. I'm going to come out on this shot a little bit. It's with the understanding that you're going to post the answer on the Facebook business page, not on YouTube. Again, if you want to post an answer to a question that I pose where you can win something, post it on the Facebook business page, and it's really easy to find. There's actually a link off of the YouTube channel that takes you to the Facebook business page, and there's a link from the Facebook business page that takes you back to the YouTube channel. So it's not really challenging to navigate that. But looking at this Featherweight 221-1 that belongs to Margaret from Georgia, let me give you the serial number and you can look it up, and if you want to post it in the chat during this premiere, you can do that. If you don't have time or you don't want to get distracted and miss any of the premiere, then post it on the Facebook business page in conjunction with this premiere announcement. You'll be able to post it right there very easily. So the serial number on Margaret's 221-1 is A as in Alpha, H as in Hotel, 664204. Again, AH 664204. I'll give you a little bit of your answer because this is all the info that I want posted. I can tell you that in that production cycle, there were 30,000 other Little Princess of Singers made that were 221-1s like this one you see on camera right now. But what I need from you, in addition to the production size, which I've already given you, 30,000, I also need the month, the day, and the year that Margaret's machine was born. Okay? So that's what I want you to post. So you'll post it again on where? Yes, the Facebook business page. You'll post, first of all, the model, which I've also given you, the 221-1, and then the month, the day, the year that Margaret's machine was born based on the serial number I already gave you. And then also note on there as well, you'll want to indicate the production size, which I've also given you, which is 30,000. Okay? So, what we're going to do now, after I get a little bit more music going, is we're going to do an additional stitch off just to show the ability to maneuver with this Featherweight. See if I can find this here. Did I already do this one? I don't think so. All right. And after this sew off, I'm going to go over a couple of other things. We're going to look at Facebook with the progression shots that I took this little Featherweight through. And then we're going to wrap this premiere up. So hang tough, folks. I should have had more stiffener. This is tending to pucker just a little bit. Oh, I had such a good rhythm going. Doggone it. We're getting pretty tight here, folks. You got to find your way out of this maze. Oh boy, can I do this? One more turn, just one more turn. Yes! Well, and that perfectly ended with that last little ditty there. Oh my Lord. What a maze we just did, huh? I have no idea what that is, but it's cool! And you should do one too on your Featherweight 221-1 because it's just really cool looking, don't you think? Okay, I'm going to start at this maze and try to find my way to the middle. No, I'm not. And here on the back you can see the stitch quality at such a fine stitch level. We're talking about 20 to 25 stitches per inch. It's just spectacular. That's kind of where I ended right there. So I put this little Princess of Singers to the task and to the test. And she is ready to head home to the great state of Georgia. She's ready to go home. Yes, she is. All right, let me come on this shot a little bit. We're gonna take a look at this big sister to the Featherweight, the 301A. And I should mention this little 301A, which is not really that little, is also going to eventually go up for sale. Not yet. Isn't that a pretty contrast between the dark, rich ebony and more of the cream, kind of a chocolatey color of that 301A in the back? And yes, they both have the long beds, just like the other 301A that I just sold that is going to be heading out to Kentucky. But you can immediately see the difference in size between these machines. I mean, it's evident. What about some measurements? I knew you were going to ask that, so I might as well do it, right? Okay, from the end of the bed to the needle. Oh, that's millimeters. Let's not do that. From the end of the bed to the needle on Margaret's machine, you're looking at right about 6 1/4 inches. And if we do it on the 301A, believe it or not, it's going to be virtually the same. 6 1/4 inches. But the harp space, when we go needle to pillar, boy, I think we're going to get a little bit of a difference there. So first of all, in the little Featherweight, from needle to pillar, you're looking at about 5 1/2 inches. From needle to pillar on the 301A, you're looking at about 8 inches. So a significant gain in that harp space on that 301A. 8 inches versus a little bit over 5. So, and the vertical clearance is also going to be pretty significant. I'm not going to necessarily measure it, but you can see from the top here as far as the ability to turn, just in relation to how it presents next to this 221-1, significantly more space. And again, a 0.6 amp motor compared to the 0.4 amp motor on the Featherweight. That's what the ladies of the day predominantly, there were some men sewing then, but predominantly ladies, that's what they wanted. They wanted that bigger workspace. They wanted that motor to give more output. They wanted to have more flexibility in the projects they could pick based on the ability to use that workspace to the max. Plus, if that wasn't enough, Singer even threw in this little handle right here on top so you can easily pick her up and carry her anywhere you want to go. So, just so many pluses to the 301 and the 301A. And we just covered the detail of all that in that recent video premiere that I did talking about that ebony 301A with the long bed. And here's another 301A with a long bed. It just doesn't happen to be ebony. It happens to be a chocolate brown. So any of you that love chocolate, keep watch, because this beautiful girl in the back is going to be going up for sale quite soon. Okay, So let's go over to my computer now, and let's see if we can look at some progress shots of kind of what we took Margaret's 201-1 through. But first of all, you're going to look at my playlist. How exciting is that? All right, so put on a little bit of music. Just turn it way down, buddy. Okay, so the first shot you see, and I'm going to have to grab a seat over by the computer so I can tap the mouse. Let's zoom in even more on that. So this is pretty much a shot of the machine shortly after I got it, and we're going to be looking at a number of things together as far as progress shots. So I'm going to have to walk in front of the camera just real quick here. Literally real quick. Okay. So the first thing I'm kind of showing you, and you might say, okay, you know, we're pretty smart, Scott, which I know you are. We're looking at the inside of a foot controller, specifically a Singer Bakelite foot controller. And you'd be absolutely right. The thing that you may not notice right away is that there is a reducer in there that's going to allow you to use this foot controller on a machine in the European marketplace. That little reducer right here is going to allow that voltage to go up to 220 volts versus standard 120, 125. So that tells me that at some point, Margaret's foot controller, at least, if not the machine, was in Europe somewhere and being used there. There you can see a much closer shot of it. And if you can't read that, it says 220 volts. You're not going to see that on a standard Bakelite foot controller. As a matter of fact, because I know that Margaret has no immediate plans to go to Europe with her 221-1, I actually took it out, so you can see it right here, out of that foot controller now because it's not needed. So here we're taking off the faceplate of Margaret's Featherweight. Very, very dirty, a lot of staining from old caramelized oil, just really gunked up and really, really filthy. You can see it there in particular, and that's actually a little bit of oil and rust as well in that shot. Let's see if I have to widen that shot a little bit. I think I have it cut off maybe a little bit too much. Yes, I do. There we go. That still gets you real close. All right, in front of the camera again. So this is looking at the top of the machine through a little port that opens up on the top of the Featherweight. It's true of the 221 and the 221-1. And the problem here that I found is that someone had used the wrong lubricant on the worm gears that interlace here. You can see the bottom half here, the upper half there. And it's creating a lot of heat, a lot of friction up there. And it was actually causing that metal to degrade. And there were small little metal shavings that were getting scattered all over the inside of the top of the machine, intermingled with grease and oil, old grease and oil. And so I had to go in there and clean that up, and then I also had to use a real fine grit sandpaper to take the burrs off of those interlacing gears, and then use the proper lubricant so that that won't reoccur again. Here you can see a close-up of them. It's hard to see the wear. You can see it a little bit here and here and here. but it's not a real common thing to see. This is forged steel, and it takes quite a bit of neglect and abuse in order to create a problem like that. There you can see a little bit of it up close. This is part grease and also metal shavings right down here at the bottom of that shot. This is totally aesthetic issues right here. You've got a real sticky mess on the needle plate, on the bed as well. And as you may have noticed when we were just over doing the sew-offs and that, I did some detailed cleaning on the bed of the machine. Didn't do a lot of restorative work there. I just wanted to get it cleaned up so that if Margaret decides to take it out somewhere, it's presentable. And here you can see we're using a dental tool, some solvents in that to carefully break that down without damaging the paint. That was not easy, by the way. If you can see it in the shot, that's a drop of my secret solvent fluid coming out the end there about to hit that cosmetic pad. I didn't do multiple shoots either. That was the first try, which is kind of cool. So here we're working on the bed to clean it up. Again, when it comes to a featherweight, people are as driven by the appearance as they are its ability to perform. And I knew that that was an important thing to Margaret, so even though this level of cleaning on the bed is not standard, I did it anyway because I wanted this featherweight to leave my workshop standing tall and looking good. As we used to say in the military, standing tall, looking good ought to be in Hollywood. So it could go to Hollywood. So here you can see it's a real foggy, kind of a nasty look on the bed right now, and we're going to continue persevering and get it to this stage right here where even without any significant waxing, we've already begun to bring that luster and that beauty back to this little princess of singers. Here we're just doing some additional work on Margaret's featherweight on the top part of the machine on the arm. And you can see that cosmetic pad, if you can see that through the shot. And whenever you try to get a shot, a picture of just how filthy and disgusting one of those cosmetic pads are, depending on the lighting and the angle of it, it doesn't nearly show how filthy that is from the cleaning. And that was much darker than it looks in that shot. So here we're doing some additional cleanup in that area that we had the issue with the worm gears and getting that area nice and clean. Here you can actually see on the end of the dental tool some of those metal flakes showing up there through the old grease and the old oil that's being removed. Again, just additional cleaning. You can kind of see it on the end there. I have it just above the worm gear kind of showing it to you. And here you can see, I was explaining this to Margaret because Margaret has not seen this machine yet. Remember, this machine came directly from the Goodwill in Santa Rosa, California, and she's down in Georgia. So I was trying to explain to her how chalky and how filthy this little featherweight was, and you can see that on camera in this still shot that I took during the cleanup process. And here we're starting to focus on the motor. The motor had issues as well. And as best as I could tell when I got into this motor and did some real serious restorative work and deep cleaning, someone had added regular machine oil to this featherweight motor. I'm not kidding you. There's 2 portals you can put it in, and they had added regular machine oil on both portals. Never, ever, ever add any kind of regular machine oil to an electric motor. Oil and electricity do not mix. And this motor, when I was initially firing it up, did produce those little plumes of smoke, which right away flagged for me that there were some issues with it. So if you decide you want to take apart a featherweight motor, one of the first things you have to do is remove the pulley. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to clear that shaft of the 2 housing pieces of the motor. And then once you break it apart, there's basically 3 zones that you have to focus on in order to get that motor back to where it needs to be. Zone 1 over here, which has a lot of copper points that have to be cleaned and have to be degreased. Spent quite a bit of time in that zone 1. Zone 2 is right here, and there's even more cleaning areas in there that I had to get all that oil out of there. And then finally zone 3, which is really the most critical zone, which is our electrical wrap section that has all the copper wraps in it, and all of that had to be purged of all of that oil as well. A significant amount of extra work above and beyond that I would normally spend on a general service on a machine. There you can see a close-up. It's probably hard to see, but this should be, this section right here and that section right there should be not quite as bright as this, the silver, but should be much brighter. That's all caramelized oil that I had to get off of there. And down here as well, you can just see where those wire wraps have just basically scorched the oil. There you can see a lot of it over here and up here on the wiring even. And I think we're back to the first shot. Yeah, that's where we started. So I'll show you one other set of shots. I'm going to go ahead and close this one out. This is the second group of shots that I recently posted, where I'm focusing a lot more on other areas of the machine, including the undercarriage. There we go. I think that's about right. All right, in front of the camera again. So here we're looking at the undercarriage, and you're going to see just how filthy it is. It's, well, actually, as a starting point, I'm lubricating different critical points on the bottom of the Featherweight. And here I'm using a dental tool to begin to break down some of the crud that's underneath there. When I showed this machine in the other video, you could see the oil just saturating the bottom of that oil catcher on the bottom of the machine. You can't really see it as much in these still shots. Again, just getting all the crud out of there. Any crud in the bottom of the machine or anywhere else on it, I try to get rid of that because it eventually can break down and can migrate. Here you can just see it just basically chunked up on there as I'm scraping it off. That area right there is a little cavern at the bottom of the machine, and that was just caked with all kinds of old oil and dirt and just junk. Here we're starting to work on some of the fine points of getting that additional stuff off. Here you can just see it chipping away, almost like plaque on the bottom of the machine. More of it right there. It's chipping it away, getting it off of Margaret's machine. Doesn't that look a lot better? There you can see we've made quite a bit of progress on the bottom of that, the bottom point of the machine. And just another wider shot just to show you. Oops, what did I do? I got happy there. I went too far. There you can just see the entire bottom of the machine now has been all that excess oil that was just dripping down there, and also getting caught up on the main shaft and the other wiring over here where we plug in. Got all of that out of there so that it's not a fire hazard and it doesn't inhibit how well the machine can run. Here we're adding some fresh grease for the worm gears on the bottom of the machine. If you have a Featherweight and you didn't know it, you have worm gears on the top and on the bottom of the machine that require a proper gear type lubricant so that the machine can run properly. And here we're just kind of spreading out, excuse me, we're spreading out that grease so that it's covering those worm gears and getting into all those little grooves, because when this turns, obviously all those little interlacing points are going to come together. So you need to have lubrication in all of those joining points as well. What are we looking at here? It's a little bit confusing, isn't it? I don't know if you remember me showing you when we did the unpacking of Margaret's machine. And if you want to check that out, it's going to be a recently posted video where we basically take it out of the box and we take a close look at Margaret's machine right after it's arrived from California. This is basically our drip pan on the bottom, and this little felt absorber that is so essential was so wet with oil that it separated from the metal outside piece that screws to the machine. So these are 10-pound weights where I got all the oil off of there as best as I could, and then I used a special oil resistant adhesive to reattach the felt to the bottom of that plate that goes on the Featherweight. And there you can see it. Doesn't that look better? In the video, if you look at the unboxing, it was almost brown, and if I had been able to squeeze it out like a sponge, it would have dripped with oil. And now we've gotten it back onto the machine, and we're just trying to clean up the bottom of the machine as well. Most people are never going to see the bottom of the machine, but I know it's there, and I always make the point to try to clean it up so that if the customer ever tilts their machine back to do whatever, it's going to present just as well as the other part of the machine. And here you can really see that shine starting to come back to an otherwise very dull cover for the bottom of the machine. Doesn't that look beautiful? It's just a world of difference. And let me go back real quick. Do you remember this was that area where we're using the dental tool on to get all that crud off of there? And you know, some people might have said, you know, well, Scott, you're too anal when it comes to what you do to machines. Well, you can see now that that is not covered by this cover. That's open to the bottom of the machine. So everybody, if that machine was tilted back for any reason, could just see how filthy that was on the bottom of there. And it's not going to leave my workshop looking like that. So here again you can see a very dirty pad, but it's not nearly showing the dirt that was on there that I could see with my eyes. Now we're starting to clean up the body of the machine a little bit. Again, doing the cleanup of the body is something that if you go to a general sewing center in your town and you say, I want to get my machine serviced, they're going to do some very basic adjustments to it. They're going to go ahead and oil the machine up and do some stitch offs, but they're not going to do all that you've seen me do on Margaret's machine. And they're sure as heck not going to do a deep cleaning on the paint and the patina to try to make your machine look pretty again. That's your job. Well, if you send me your machine, it's my job. I do the best I can to try to return the beauty of that machine. And you can see all the way across the machine now, that machine now can be taken to a quilting retreat, a quilting class, a sewing class, and people are going to be going gaga over it because it has a lot of that original beauty back. It doesn't quite have the pizzazz of a machine that I've replaced the paint on and added clear coat to, but it sure looks a lot better, doesn't it? That machine just looks like she is ready to get the job done again. And now we've gone away from the machine. I don't know if you remember, if you saw that video of me unboxing Margaret's machine right after it arrived from the Santa Rosa, California Goodwill. But because they didn't strap down the case points, these hinges had come loose from the case. They were just flopping, which means if you were to grab that case by the handle with your Featherweight in there, these could have popped loose and your Featherweight may have come crashing to the ground. So I wanted to use a special epoxy adhesive once I pulled this away a little bit, get it behind there, and then tack it back in so that it was a lot more secure for Margaret using it as a carrying case. Here we just have some painter's tape holding that in place as that epoxy adhesive dries. The same thing with the right side. We're adding that epoxy in behind the latch mechanism there on the top. You can see we got the pin out right there, and then we're going to be putting those pins back in so it can dry and stay a lot more secure. And this is just a special little tap hammer I have to knock those carefully back into the case. Again, there's not a lot of wood holding those. And I think we've gone full circle, haven't we? Yes, we've gone full circle. So why do I show those to you? I show you those because, well, this one sounds fine. It's called Hype Fun. I think that's what it says. I show that to you because I want you to realize the difference with what happens at this workshop as opposed to going to your local sewing center or going, oh, hello there, that's kind of pretty. I'm like a 5-year-old sometimes, aren't I? Oh my Lord. So I just wanted to show you the difference. You know, when I talk about going through a machine surgically, it's not just talk. I really do. So I wanted to show you something else as well, and I'll try to do it like right in front of the bed of Margaret's machine, right about there. That should be pretty good. What I discovered when I started going through the case that came with the machine is they had a whole variety of bobbins with Margaret's machine, almost as if they were trying to say, one of these hopefully will work. I'm not kidding you. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So, you can see in the shot, almost. Yeah, I think we got to go that way, don't we? Yeah, you can see them all now. All 3 of these bobbins were in the case, and only one of them is the correct one. Which one do you think it is? They all look pretty close, don't they? Well, I can tell you, we will determine that by using a very precise caliper, because I already know what the dimensions as far as the width of a featherweight bobbin is. Let's measure this one on the right first of all. So this one is just about 12 millimeters. 12 millimeters, I can tell you, is definitely not right. That's going to be in the realm of a class 15 bobbin. So let's get rid of that one. Now we've got these 2 right here, and they look pretty close, don't they? They look really, really close. So let's check this one with a really cool blue thread on it. That one is coming in at, look really close here. That one is coming in at 8 millimeters. That is really, really, really close. But that's not correct either. We're down to 1. This better be it, right? And this is the magic bobbin for a Singer Featherweight. Whoop, let me get on camera. For a Singer Featherweight 221, or in this case a 221-1. The width, when you're looking at a bobbin like this, which is really going to be critical, when I'm talking about the width, I'm talking about from this point to that point. It needs to be, I should almost like pause the music here or something like that to be really dramatic. It needs to be exactly 7.5 millimeters in overall width when you're looking at it like this. 7.5 millimeters is exact. The one that we just moved to the side was 8 millimeters, really, really close. This one isn't even in the ballpark. But you can see how these 2 are so close, and this one that has the blue thread on it, that's 8 millimeters, was actually in the machine. This one came out of a pack that I had of original Singer bobbins for the model 221 and the 301. And back in the day, you can see a pack of 4 only cost 95 cents. So that's the one that you can see here that I took out of the package and use that in Margaret's machine. So you got to be real careful, folks. I've said it before, even with aftermarket bobbins, these folks that make them in China and other places do not make them to the quality and standard that Singer made them back in the day. Singer back in the day made them with extreme precision, and if they had vendors that were making them, you can bet your buttons that they made them to a standard that was you know, top notch. Kind of like, remember those Husqvarna machines, the Type 21s that we saw that had the Westinghouse motor in them? As I said in those videos, when you get a company like Husqvarna and they're letting someone make a motor for them, like that 1.5 amp Westinghouse motor that was in that Type 21 I showed you, you can bet your buttons that that machine is, that machine motor is going to be made to a standard that far exceeds what anyone else would have. Same thing for Singer. But now the standards are quite a bit off. You saw that little caliper tool that I use, which goes down to thousandths of an inch. I've said it before, just a few thousandths of an inch off to the naked eye, you're not going to be able to see it, but your machine is really, really sensitive, and it will pick up on that in how it sews. You'll have skip stitches, you'll have other feed issues as far as what happens down in that raceway if that bobbin is not the correct bobbin down to a T. And how wide should it be again so you can check it yourself? Exactly right. 7.5 millimeters. Not 8, surely not 12 or 13 or whatever that other one was. It's got to be the right size to get the job done. Trying to think if I wanted to show you anything else. I think we've covered it pretty well at this point. But again, this Featherweight came with a lot of challenges. And again, you kind of should expect that, quite honestly, when you buy a machine from the good folks at Goodwill. Again, I absolutely stand behind their mission, and I applaud anyone that supports them either by going into their stores, as I do on an occasional basis, or buying from their online presence as well, Goodwill Online. But when they get that machine, just know that they're not going to be able to do much to it. They might plug it in, they probably will, and they probably will push on the foot control, and if the needle goes up and down even a little bit, that machine has been tested. Well, that doesn't really meet the grade of testing a machine, obviously. All of you know that. You're really smart. But they just don't have the resources or the means to do it. If they had a guy like me living in all of their neighborhoods near their stores as they were getting these machines ready to go online, and I was one of those volunteers, then I could go through that machine with a lot more precision and say, yep, this machine is good to go, and it's ready to get the job done. But they just don't have the resources to do that. In most cases, they don't have the resources. I know there's probably a select few that might have someone that's retired that used to work on sewing machines, and they might volunteer their time there. That's awesome if they can do that. But in most cases, you're going to get what they got, and there's not going to be much change there until you plug it in and you really start to put that machine to the test. So again, if you want to support Goodwill Online, you've got my blessing. I think it's an awesome thing to do. But take the next step of wisdom, like Margaret has, like Mike has, and a number of others, and send the machine, or have them send the machine directly from Goodwill to my workshop. Just let me know it's coming. I've gotten a couple of machines recently, and they arrive, and I'm like, I have no idea who this belongs to. And then a day or so later, once I put it, off to the side, I'll get a messenger message from someone saying, oh, by the way, I had Goodwill mail you a machine. Okay, thanks. So yeah, give me a heads up if you're planning to do that, so that I'm looking for it and I can anticipate it. You know what I mean? And just a couple of free tips real quick as we're looking at these two amazing machines, the Princess of Singers in the front, and then the big sister to the Featherweight in the back. If you're setting the needle on these machines, make sure that that flat side is to the left. And not so hard on the 301 and the 301A, because again, they've got that shaft where you really can't put the needle in wrong. Not true on the Featherweight. As you try to slide that needle into the Featherweight with the flat side to the left, and you start to tighten down that needle clamp, inevitably that needle will start to rotate, and you really got to watch that closely. Otherwise, when you go to start sewing, you're going to have all kinds of weird stuff happening. And then you're going to obviously thread both of these machines from right to left once you get it all threaded up. And they're really quite user-friendly when it comes to threading them up. But again, both fabulous machines. I could not survive probably in my personal collection unless I had both, because they really do deliver in different ways, in significant ways. And if you ever have said to yourself, you know, I love the Featherweight, but gosh, I wish it would do something other than just a straight stitch. You know, for you that are doing quilt blocks, it doesn't matter. Straight stitch is perfect. And you saw the stitch offs where, you know, the stitch variation from basically six stitches per inch all the way down to 30 stitches per inch. You can get so much out of this incredible 221-1. But if you ever get the itch where you say, you know, I think it'd really be cool if I could have an attachment or something where I could take a machine like this and I could get it to do something totally different and something totally outrageous. Hey, wait a second. Somebody just put something in the camera shot. What is that? Holy mackerel! Singer made an automatic zigzagger? But no way, it surely is not going to work on the Princess of Singers, is it? Could it? Might it? May it? Absolutely. This attachment will work on Class 15 series machines. It'll work on the Singer 201, the Rolls-Royce of Singers. It'll work on the 221 and the 221-1, and also the 301 as well. But again, with the 301, you always want to hand crank that first just to make sure you're getting good clearance as far as that needle coming through any attachment you put on the machine. So if you've never seen one of these and you've got a straight stitch only machine, and it's either a Class 15, a Singer 201, a Singer 221, Singer 221-2, or a 301, and there's a couple of other classes listed in here as well, then you're going to want to see if you can track one of these down, because they're really kind of nifty. When you open it up, you find out that it's almost got like a button holder look to it, where, and I don't have my screen turned around so I can't see if you're even looking at, oh yeah, you can kind of see it in the shot. It's got 3 different cams basically that you can put in here, and not only can you get a zigzag, but you can also get other stitch output as well in a decorative type stitch fashion. So they really are a neat attachment to have. I've got 2 of these in the workshop. I'm not looking to sell them, but if someone ends up purchasing like a 201 from me, or if I have this 301 like back here that's coming up, you know, I might throw it into the deal just for fun, if you remind me. So I hope you had fun in this video. I hope you found it informative. I hope you've enjoyed the ragtime style music. I don't remember which last one I played. I was going to end with some sort of a piece, but I don't remember which ones I played, so I'll probably end up playing the same one again, most likely. Oh, let's play The Entertainer, why don't we? Everybody knows that one, I think. So, as we wrap up this premiere, we look at 2 majestic examples of Singer engineering. Margaret's 221-1, which, again, if you've looked up the birth date, you already know how old it is, which is hard to believe based on how beautiful she looks now. And then we have this amazing 301A in the background, which, like I said, is going to come up for sale quite soon, and it is extremely clean, extremely beautiful machine, which you really can't see extremely well. Okay, shameless plug. Margaret, forgive me, I'm moving your Featherweight out of the way. It's almost like pre-advertising, isn't it? And I haven't done anything to the body of this as far as cleaning up yet, so if you see dirt, don't be shocked. And like all of my machines, yes, this is an original owner machine. Look at that extension bed in particular, the long bed, and it's just gorgeous. Alright folks, well thanks for watching, thanks for indulging my selfish motive in kind of pre-introducing this chocolate colored 301A that will eventually go for sale. So if you have an interest in it, especially considering we're talking about a full-size bed versus the short little stubby one, you might want to reach out, because I just got done presenting the 301A, the ebony one, and that sold in a couple of hours after the premiere. You just saw the premiere on the hand crank, the Singer 66 Red Eye. That's gone. Had a customer that has been a wonderful customer from out on the East Coast, and she's bought two other machines from me. One was a Featherweight 221, and then a Husqvarna for her husband, and now she's come back and bought that 66 Red Eye hand crank. So machines tend to move very, very fast. So do not delay. If you see a machine pop up as a premiere, or in this case, you're kind of getting a forewarning that this 301A long bed is going to be coming up for sale probably soon, then you might want to reach out sooner than later. Again, you can reach me on my cell phone, on my direct line, which is 920-454-0393. If you're calling from a different time zone, take into account the time difference if you reach out. You know, you can always email me, you can message me through Facebook. There's just a myriad of ways to reach out. So, all right, God bless you guys. Again, I have to wrap up giving credit where credit is due to this amazing Singer Featherweight 221-1 that came with so many challenges, as you saw in the Facebook shots I just shared with you. But she is just ready to go now. She's ready to get down to Georgia. I love the state of Georgia, an amazing place. So Margaret, your Princess of Singers is ready. I'll be getting her packed up quite soon and getting her heading out your way. So, all right, God bless you guys. Stay tuned for other great videos where you learn new stuff, you have a little chuckle, and you always get to see beautiful, beautiful vintage sewing machines that are sewing as well as they could possibly sew, and just back to their glory. All right, God bless, folks. Take care.